Hey guys, it's Tartan coming at you with another game of Total War 3 Kingdoms. The Emperor Xian reigns in Luoyang. We're here with Liu Chong, in 190 expanded. He's still alive, he's still kicking. The year is 211, all is well. He is 69 years old and a happy guy. He is seen to the Emperor's domains over in this quadrant over in northern the border of Shu. This would just be in Hong here, though, of course. Now, what we want to do is build a D recruitment hub, because the D will be an important part of the next part of the story going forward. Now, we'll drop Zhang Liao. Ubu is going to run up this way and hang out with Jing Daorong some, who does need to figure out what he's doing with his life. Now, speaking of what he's doing with his life, it's time for some decent people in this army. Alright, yes, well, some horse archers from the steppes will come in. And then we will drop one repeating crossbow here for some nice lancers. Now, he gets a discount to cavalry, so why not, right? You cannot get the red Chong guys yet, but here we go, and that's all to the good so far. And that's right, Xingdarong, the army of the Grand Commandant. The Emperor has sent, weapons and armor. You know, these saber militia have fought long and well, but now they're going to become, the pearl dragons that they always dreamed of being. And then we'll do a couple of Azures here. And the diehard warriors are unique enough and, good enough to keep for him. Alrighty, there we go. Now, we either need to take a horse pasture or get up here and be able to convince them not to come in, because we know that this area is the crossroads, right? If you have an army here and an army over here, it's just incredibly annoying to get inside the cookie jar in this other direction. It is a very important strategic thing. And Xingdarong, the Grand Commandant, the highest general in the land, will see to it there. Now, the prince is not really a part of any of these corruption scandals going on, so he's not gonna get involved. Now, Taishi Ci is about to get called back to the capital. We're gonna hit this one last. Because he's pressing the attack here, but no sooner does he get it sorted out than he is going to be called back home. And here, I rather like this mine, but if it's going to be taken away anyway, alright. What I would want is tribute here. Alright, hooray! Yes, and we will give him something that we'll never care about using. What's that? How about this pig? Not the bow, obviously not the bow. We gotta brainstorm what we're doing with the bow. Negative corruption faction-wide. Perhaps we will put that onto people, right? We don't need that, I don't think. We don't need to give him that in this trade either. Just give him a little bit more food. Alright, well that's the opposite of what I wanted. Okay. You know, sometimes that button doesn't get you where you need to go. It's like, whatever, here, have this pig and this pig. Hooray! That gets us Redcliffe. And then... you will trade this farmland to them. For nons. Farmland. They don't really want to do this, but I'm sure we could work it out. I'm like, can we... I'm like, no, that doesn't help us. Give them that. Nor there. Certainly not there. Don't want to give the weapon away. Yeah, you know, we're, well, you know, we can just wait till we take this. The Sun family is largely bankrupt. We are largely on our way to being there. Yeah, and we can send Hucher down, and that'll be, you know, the messenger that'll let her know that her father's here. Actually, no, Huang Zhong. There we go, because he's joined up. He'll be able to help out in the south here. And his retinue is, you know, wonderful. His Merc Archers are fine, and Tiger Guard are very good, and Saber Militia are acceptable. And we recruited him up here, that's fine too. Now what we want to do here is just finish up, but yes, next turn we will deal with some of these corruption problems. But right now, it's time for the lady who... to spring the trap. Aha! And Lady Liu is going to reinforce from across the river. That's going to be a sight. Well, with that in mind, let's get Liu Xie here as well. Do you need a weapon? It looks like you do, buddy. Here you go. Here's a weapon for you. And he can go the wall, which is just so amazing. Charge negate for the whole army is just so good. And that's what Suli has brought to the table now. And then we'll just throw this on him. A mustache man deserves a good bow. And we're gonna give her this refined crossbow, you know, for reasons. Alright, this is what it's all been for. These fools. Time for a big ol' brawl with Yuan Shao's forces. Wonderful stuff. Looks like the, no, it's just one of the Zhongs. So it's like, the brothers are here? No. They're not. Time for a brawl. Alright, what kind of map are we fighting on here? A nice, messy riverbank. Just as planned. Of course, we've got our trebs. And then from that, not a lot of ranged in this army, but a lot of punch. Do they have any champion fighters? Not really. No, there's a lot of thinkers here, right? There's a lot of thinkers. And the Lady Liu. Who is, like, Yuan Shao's wife, I think. But in any case, should be in the Imperial Court with a name like that. Let's get to it. Alright. The Lady Hu, once again, defending the riverbank. Protector of the people. Oh, Liu Chong would get so annoyed hearing how complimentary everybody is about his wife. He can't help but feel a little envious. He's such a good guy. And they notice that, but they're always noticing her too. Alright, now here we've got a messy thing, right? Because we've got our reinforcements, some of them coming from this flank of their army, which has quite a lot of cavalry, but of course, well, we know that no matter what happens, we've got the follow-up forces on this side of the river, so even a loss would be absorbable at this point in the campaign, which is a crazy thing to say. Because, like, you never feel that way in Total War, right? You never feel like, oh, well, you know, we could lose, we'd be fine. If we set up the trebs here, then if they come towards us, then we have... No, right here is better, because then we have the field of view. Not forced to just say move everything after the stolen. Enough to punish. Get away with it. Yes, but that is not what Lady Hu would want. She, after all, is a cunning lady. She's nature's ally. But after our performance against the Ma clan yesterday, I'm looking at the set The Wall for champions, and I'm just blown away, right? Because you get charge to gate for your whole army, and then if they like charge heavy cavalry at your freaking archers and hit them, you just don't even have to care. Like, the engagement's just normal. It's crazy what it lets you get away with, and that was just from Guo Xia's you know, retinue having it, but it opened my eyes. Speaking of opened my eyes, let's get to it. We've got we're gonna go shoot down you, yes. Ah, Zhu Rong is here, and Yang Zhu. Good deal, good deal. And young Liu Xie, no strangers to combat. But unfortunately, old Luo Tong did not get in this first reinforcement wave. Old chicken rib. Liu Xie and his raider cavalry. Look, he's doing his best, okay? A lot of strategists. Yeah, you know, they brought, like, they brought a lot of strategists. One of their armies is on the other side of the Yellow River and reinforced from it, which is both amazing and, like, pretty funny when you think about the logistics. Kuto is challenging me. Very well, I accept. Like, I'm pretty sure, even though he's a sentinel, we'll be fine, because we've got armor piercing, and we're more of a sentinel than he is at this point, right? He's like an archer sentinel. He's not like the rest of us. Speaking of, we just put the melting in here, the crossbows into the red cab by preference. Armored archer shooting in to the Shanbei. Gonna start shooting these Azure Dragons. No, we could shoot. Well, he's got 70% missile block. We could not shoot. Here we see that they are just running away from our superior reinforcements. Get wrecked, buddies. Lady Liu, you wish to duel Zhu Rong? Yeah, he accepts. It doesn't even matter if he loses. That'll just be funny. I mean, he probably will. I think she's gonna beat the brakes off of him, actually. I think she's going to really, really wreck him. But maybe he'll win, right? Just because she's got better stats. Nah. Her armor piercing isn't that high, and he has quite high armor. They swing about the same amount. You know, she does have the edge in melee evasion, though. And here, the cavalry turn their shoulders to us. Catastrophic failure. And we're just going to go this way with all of our cav, because, of course, we're going to come and hit their reinforcements if they'll let us. And we are fighting in the muck and mire here against cavalry. Hardly what you want, but with the support of a whole bunch of everybody else coming this way, we'll be fine. Zhu Rong was about to get demoted anyway, right? The Emperor doesn't like him, and tax revenues have entirely dried up. She is wearing a robe, but, you know, I think she's got it. I'm pretty sure she's gonna win. We don't have anything to help. Reform the men. Liu Xie interrupts the duel, unwilling to see Zhu Rong struck down. He falls down anyway. So you're seriously surprised to see her be good at anything? The silver matched Xian. They're good weapons, right? Maybe she had some melee evasion from something, but yeah, I mean, good for her, right? Did you get unhorsed? Yes. Well, then keep on fighting them then. Oh, wow, that was pretty good. For want of a chicken rib, man, you know, we are being too aggressive with him. He's going to be wanting more than a chicken rib if we keep on acting like that. Here, of course, the cavalry charges in. Represents. So this is just as all of their archers are coming across the riverbank to support. And of course, we cleverly charge around the sides. Zhu Rong not only is about to be defeated, but, you know, has performed shamefully in a duel, and in the sight of, like, a lot of people that don't do that. But the Emperor already doesn't like him much. A lot of people already don't like him much, for all that he's popular. And of course, Zhu Rong, you know, he was aligned with some other factions that are no longer in favor. And now that the cavalry has run through the archers here, continue crossing the field to meet them there. And yeah, getting stuck on some defenders of Hebei here is not good. Warriors of Yu, like it's a bad place. But fortunately, you know, our peacekeepers are keeping the peace here, and rather than eat this charge from the cavalry, we're going to run back like so. He's dealt with these fools, and so they're charging in. The lady who needs to get back and command the forces here as our cavalry come in here and here. That cavalry charge hurts us pretty bad there, but of course all we're doing here is flames in, getting there. Of course the peacekeepers can take a punch. We run there. Charge the cavalry here. Wuhan Lancers, where are our horses? We see some guys with horses and think, this is an outrage. I can't believe these guys are allowed to have horses and we're not. Boom, boom, boom. We want to turn our shoulders there. These guys are out of ammo and thus should flee. These cavalry are the ones from Old Boy, right? From Liu Xie, so that's why they're in some trouble. And then we're gonna... They're the Raider cavalry, mostly. Yep. No, Liu Xie, those guys have... those are the defenders of Hebei. We don't want to mess with them. Alright. And on this front, of course, the mighty Lancers of Wuhan, armed as they are with weapons on foot, are far beyond the powers of any of these people to deal with. And we're just gonna get the Archers of Jing like an attack order. Yeah, why not? Spear Warriors in the back to come in. Any reinforcements yet? No, not yet. trying to get these, trying to get through. These infantry want to fight, right? They definitely got the high morale. They definitely are in brawling mode. The lady gets caught up on As Your Dragons. That's a bad sentence. Let's not do that. Heavy repeating crossbows here. Of course, their strategists are direly in need of some strategy of their own at this point. Trebuchets are out of ammo, just what you want to see. We're going to go ahead and direct them to leave. Here, the armored archers are engaging with saber cavalry. Look, I didn't want to start that sentence and end it that way. That's just how it ended. Anyway, that's enough of that. Time to engage over here. Look, when we took a weird split thing with a small amount of a cavalry force, we knew what we were doing, right? We were being aggressive, being aggressive. We were doing exactly what needed to be done. Hit him with a roar. These As Your Dragons, of course, can't stand up to the charge of the mighty Spear Warrior. People don't believe in the Spear Warrior, but you got to, right? These are juiced Spear Warriors. These are 44 AP Spear Warriors, right? These aren't your grandmas. They're basically that good when they start Spear Warriors. No, armored archers, run away! Oh, the duel. I was like, man, our morale was messed up. It's because of that duel. You know, normally we always win them. But fortunately, of course, we had plenty of... Look, I said I thought I was going to lose that duel before we took it, okay? I said that. Roll the tape. Yeah, we got negative 15 because of the duel loss. They do not have scare that would matter. Even if they did, we have immune to scare for having max fortitude. Faction-wide. Of course, here the problem is, how do we bring the new reinforcements in a useful way? But it's not that big of a problem, right? Because here we can just get back into action and get these Royal Guard moving forward a little bit. The Cataphractoi are in better spirits now. We'll run them up here. Oh no, not like this. I meant go up there and stand, guys, not like charge into fools. Royal Guard onto the defenders. Wuhan Lancers onto the Saber Infantry. With their sweet Where Are Our Horses ability, we should see these guys drop like a rock. Beautiful. And here, boom! The quake of earth as they all fall down around them. Beautiful stuff. These spear guards do just fine there. We're running off the map here, just like we wanted. And isn't it nice to have enough forces? Isn't it nice to have enough forces to where you can, like, you know, lose some and have enough replenishment to where you feel fine? Although the corruption runs rampant, you can't deny the military infrastructure is on point. But of course, that will fall down soon enough if we run out of money. Liu Xie falls off of his horse and takes a tumble. I mean, that's all to the good, right? We're gonna be fighting spears the rest of his time here anyway. Liu Xie might be a poster boy for how... is a poster boy for the many ways in which having a character that you have a great time with in a campaign will, like, just make you like that character in the future. And that's just one of the many reasons why I love this game so much. You know, the stories just seem to jump right out of it, right? All you have to do is imagine it a little bit. Fortunately, this massive corruption mechanic doesn't make us imagine very much. Fortunately. And once again, the Emperor's strategy against crossing the river proves to be a functional one, although some say that we are dithering. You know, that we're using Spear Warriors and Axe Band is also a thing, you know, but hey, we're, it's affordable solutions to problems. It's barely more expensive to go to elite troops, right? I mean, it is more, but our 6,000s against their 4,000, so, you know, 60,000 against 40,000. We multiply all the numbers by 10 in the Chronicle to make it sound good. Like, Yuan Yi, would there be any reason to keep you alive here? Besides that, I like you, kinda, and your beard's nice. I mean, we would execute him at this point, right? All of them, yeah, all of the Yuan clan. Not absolutely all of them, but almost all of them. Because I was reading up on Chicken Rib Guy, because I was like, what's up with this Chicken Rib Guy? Ransom will make our people like us less, but we need the money. We're like tanking our affection with a lot of our vassals, which makes a great story too. But because Chicken Rib Guy's mother is Lady Yuan, who's Yuan Shu's sister, so of course that he is traveling around with Zhurong, and Luoyang is a thing of its own with that context in mind. But yeah, I learned that today. But you know, not everybody attached to all of it, you know, because that's just his sister. But you know, anyway, he's lucky that he came over to us when he did in 208. And I think we took him as a spy. Alright, so here we can get armor for spear infantry on retinue. I mean, yeah. Because he gives melee evasion to spear infantry, so, like, you don't even want that many cavalry on him. I mean, we'll probably give him a couple, you know, for the D tie-in, but we'll definitely be keeping the good infantry on him. Speaking of, after their great victory in the battle, the Emperor has decreed that they can have some heavy G infantry as a treat. He has sent heavier armor to these spear warriors. The spear guard can keep what they've got. And the axe band, I think we have for the axes, and we don't want to drop them, actually. Yes, that's exactly the case. The sword raiders also have axes, which makes them good, and they're the Wuhan, so we're not taking those away. Anyway. And she can happily report that some of these problems have been sorted out. Also, of course, corruption admin there. So I guess we can take the anti-corruption thing. Yeah, because that both fits what we're doing here, you know. We're reading the discourses of the states now, you know. It's about that, we're trying to get rid of the problem with corruption. Although, satisfaction, you know, that's the thing too, but the corruption, that's what we're worried about. The Emperor's like, why are we not making money? Just a year ago, we were all making money. I specifically was making money, and I liked it. We're going to set Zhuge Pian, the concubine who once thought she would be empress and may indeed one day be, to tax collecting here. A little bit of persuade the gentry going on because, you know, they might get upset pretty soon. But, I don't know if you saw the last video, Luke, but joyous occasion. A child has been born to the Emperor in Liu Xie. It's a girl. What a happy day! What a happy day! And here we need to take the anti-corruption thing. Yeah, that's, we can drop corruption faction-wide or do the adjacent one. I mean, I guess the faction-wide one is the way to go. Well, first we'll just build up to getting lower corruption in the adjacent places. And does one of these do that too? No. Because we don't need tax buildings if people aren't getting their taxes to us, right? We need to get our judiciaries going. And in places that don't have the space and do have a tax building, well, we can just tear down the tax building because they're literally not directing the tax revenues anymore. So a remittance on direct taxation, although of course taxation based on your increase will still remain, and we'll see how we can go from there. After all, if no one's paying their taxes, it doesn't matter how much you think you're making. Alright, no new armies. Counteracting corruption is the order of the day. Here, we can keep it here, because we were taking all these steps to reduce there, and, you know. We're still getting through a little bit of the money there, is what I'm saying. We'll keep it. Obviously, in Luoyang, the taxes must remain. Obviously. Oh, that reminds me. The Lord of Wu Pass, Liu Xie. All he ever wanted to do was hang out in the pass. He really likes it there, and I was pleased to offer him that role. Speaking of that role, well, you know, it's the next turn where all this is going to happen, right? Because Taishi Ci is going to lose his job, and Zhurong is going to lose his job, and, well, the only people coming away well in this is the Lady who once again leads a brilliant defense of the riverbank. The Emperor has been heard to mutter that he doesn't even know why he needs the other generals around, which upsets anyone who hears it. Except Zhuge Pian. Speaking of the Zhuges, I was thinking, alright, do we want to... Because he's about to die, do we free them, confederate in their family, and bring them in for the story? Because then we can have... You know, because Liu Xie's not going to live forever, right? So there's going to be recommendations for the new Grand Tutor, you know, and... is Kongming in the ruling family? He might be. But... we need to do a court call, certainly. Oh, you mean in general too? Yes. You know who isn't working anymore. Do we even really know you? No, we picked you up. You're from all around. You can go. She's a sentinel with a champion banditry. We can't get rid of her. That's too cool. This is Liu Xun's daughter. We don't really need her, in spite of that she's a nice person. You know, go out into the world, our distant family member, and be good. Niufu, we don't need you. You were picked up in the grab. Lisu, we don't need you. No, you can't have the G of Heavenly Mandate before I fire you. The whole Li family can go, right? Not Li Zhua. He has to stay and guard the pass. This was just his heir that we took, probably. We'll keep her at court, because that's an important... Probably his wife, right? Yeah, we'll keep her. We can't kick her out. There's a very important reason for her to be there. This guy also has important family members. Sun family stuff, keeping her. The Admiral came over in the war. We don't need him. Lady Young is Ma Chao's wife. We'll keep her for that reason. The wives of important vassals and vassal heirs obviously can't get just kicked out for nothing. Here, she just didn't like Liu Bei. Well, you know, Wang Song has fought bravely in battle, right? She's, well, you know, but she doesn't get along, actually, with any of them. Is she oath-sworn to anyone important, or friends with anyone important? No, she's married to Liu Xun, though. Liu Bei's wife? Yeah. You know, they didn't like hanging out with him. So, yeah, they'll be at court here, you know, representing that. And then... she's got that married to construction time thing, we're keeping her around, you know. The Chen brothers are important. Diao Chan, of course, we're not firing. Shuta, you know, those are good abilities for own army stuff. Where are you from? Liu Yao by way of Wu Jing originally, and then the Sun family. I mean, it's cool stuff, but are we going to use you? No, there's plenty of other people on deck. All of these guys are being useful. I feel like we made barely a dent in the salary. I feel like we only fired like 3 people. I like everybody. We need them. Yeah, some people we picked up because we thought they were spies. Ah, the twice consecutively is that. I see. So I was just like, yeah, we'll pick them up, and, you know, everybody will be so happy that it'll be fine, and I'm not really worried about getting spied on from our dudes. It's like, we can accept a little bit of that. Alright, so our efforts against corruption have already been, you know, successful. Really just putting that thing on the Emperor happened, but next season, you know, there's going to be some changes made up in the shop here. As the tax buildings are all torn down. Mostly torn down. Is Liu Xie getting canned? You know, that is the question, right? Because he's not really involved principally with any of the problems that are happening, right? Like, his role is, you know, as it says here, foreign affairs, personal contact when dealing with envoys, tutelage, in general, you know, representing the scholar faction broadly, although the factionalism wouldn't be permitted, you know, and he would be offering to resign, like, all the time. He's 71 now, you know. It is proper that he retire, and I like to think that maybe every spring he's, like, sort of ritually offers his resignation and retirement to the Emperor, who politely refuses it, you know. Like, it's like a little thing they do every year, as if Liu Xie is just saying, hey, don't make it weird. If you aren't satisfied with me, you know, we don't need to make this a whole thing. But, so the problem is, and what's happening right now between the two of them, is that Jing Daorong has just come up here, taken the Emperor's seat, and subjugated Ma Teng. So good so far. He also brought Li Zhue in under the Imperial umbrella, and the Imperial father-in-law in Lu Bu. So far, so good. There's just this one wrinkle. Dong Bai and Dong Li are still alive, and Lu Bu has been protecting them this whole time. He thought Liu Xie was dead, and he was like, well, what I'm gonna do is hang out here in the north and make sure nothing bad happens to these girls. You know, Lu Bu, after all, was Dong Zhuo's adopted son. Even though Dong Zhuo was a rotten tyrant, that doesn't absolve Lu Bu of, like, familial obligations to these girls, who would have been, you know, of an age with Liu Xie, and, you know, a little bit older, but there's a whole dynamic going on there. So what does Liu Xie, the guy whose name I can't say right, have to say about Liu Xie, the girl whose name I can't say right, and her friendships? Well, that is what we have going on. Because the Grand Commandant is the only person here who's doing his job right. Ding Yi is not coming across very well in doing his job because he's supposed to be overseeing everybody, and the taxes basically entirely dried up, and the peasants said they were paying them. The emperor has been said to lament that when Liu Chong was around, the receipts were fine. Was that really the only thing holding it together? He wonders. Why are we firing Taishi Ci? Because Taishi Ci elected to take an army and go across the river, pressing our advantage here, while the oversight of his actual office, his excellency office, totally crumbled. Another corruption issue, exactly. Also, the emperor doesn't like Taishi Ci. You know, canonically here. The emperor doesn't like Zhu Rong, and the emperor doesn't like Jing Daorong, but that one is going to be fine. You know, he does like the chancellor, the grand tutor. The commandant is a different thing. Their personalities don't jive, but he has nothing wrong with Jing Daorong's, you know, performance on the battlefield. But yeah, but that's basically why. He's looked at as somebody who did a great job administering in Nanyang, and then was brought up to the excellency of the masses, although maybe he wasn't educated enough, Liu Xie's take on it, or maybe he wasn't just present enough, you know, because Taishi Ci doesn't come from, you know, such a lofty family as a lot of these people. The Han, after all, recently restored, has these canonical corruption issues going on there, and Taishi Ci is seen as unable to navigate it. Moreover, he's very far away from the capital, and the finances are falling apart. Their career civil servants being investigated, you know, things are getting swept under the rug. The emperor doesn't know what to do, and the guy he needs to turn to isn't there. And he left a letter saying, oh, I went on a quest. That's great. You know, but... Yeah. We're not going to fire him. We're just going to remove him from his position. And may well give him, you know, an administrator position. Or, you know, set him free as a vassal somewhere to thank him for his long service. But just make it clear, which that would be super unwise, which makes it a fun idea. Because obviously you don't fire somebody from the excellency position and then make them independent. What sort of resentment will they harbor, you know? But we hardly want to be a bastion of wisdom here. Where does it all end? We're just going to stand here and see if Cheng Pu will come to try to meet us in battle. He's going a little bankrupt there. And then Hong Zhong, who I meant to recruit up here, but, you know, best laid plans and all that. Because the Sun family, once again, is broker than a joke. And they are on the back foot pretty heavily. But the South is a mess otherwise, right? Which is fine, you know, and there's nothing wrong with it being a huge mess. I think it adds a charm to it. So you don't know about me, but I don't want to hold any land not between the two rivers. I want to hold some land not between the two rivers. Because this gives me 4% armor faction-wide. But we could just give him Changsha. That's a good point. And if he ends up being super loyal and doing well for himself, so much the better too, right? I mean, really, do we need faction-wide effects to be successful? We don't. I just love faction-wide effects. Like, look at this thing. 3 AP damage? What's not to like? There's another one of these over here, but I can't see a way to buy it from him. But maybe if we get this, we can trade, you know. Not because it isn't good land or it's indefensible, because it makes it more expensive, right? You know, this does look much less nice than it would if we had the rest of that. But we did pick up... You know, Nan will be able to get this land off of Saimao before too long, and then... Yes, we clearly have too much land, because even if that 25% corruption thing wasn't going on, even if, you know, that's still like, that's barely counteracted by the administrator, right? Bum, bum, bum. You know, I was going to play Power World this morning, but then I just started thinking about this and thinking more about it. But yes, the end of the spring. One more year for the debuff to wear off. In the spring of 212. The new era will begin. Do we wait till then to fire everybody? You know, that actually does have a nice synergistic effect with it, right? Taishi Ci can be recalled to the capital. You know, we're not, like, firing them when they're not there. You have to fire people when they're there. That's, like... So we can blame the present administration and say the future Evan doesn't have a little... Exactly. Exactly so. And then if Liu Xie retires Guo Xie, who has not only distinguished himself in battle and, you know, in government and jurisprudence, you know, might take that position to further our excellent... Oh, and he dropped out of his vassalage with the Kingdom of Song. Liu Yu. You know, we can imagine that all of that was coerced, right? We don't have to look at him as a rebel. He had very small holdings up there, surrounded by this other guy, and he also fights corruption. Indeed, indeed. So that would be a nice 1-2 punch there, right? Where it's both practical and fights corruption, and then it would represent this new crop of advisors coming in who had less of the problems of the old ones, you know? Liu Xie didn't bring corruption, but he, as a child of the system, you know, was unable to see solutions to the corruption. But Guo Xie, with the eyes of a young man, and without having to worry about all the petty factionalism that, you know, led to these things in the first place. I've been watching the videos about, like, the 140 to 180 period, and fascinating stuff. Benevolent Son of the Han. Yes, we have a similar foreign policy with the Northern Tribes this campaign. Yeah, that's right, because that's why Gong Suzan didn't respect him, right? Yufilo becomes dutiful. Yongfeng becomes selfless. And Purong becomes dutiful as well. We get the family spear. But here, we do want the timber, because that gets to upkeep production. We don't need to tax this place, I guess. Well, you know, we don't need a granary here, actually, is really what I guess. I mean, they're great, but we don't need it for that level of building, that is to say. We don't need to spend too much money on other buildings. Because even though these are cheap, you know, we are going to be building them basically everywhere. We don't want to drop the granaries in the central plains. They're pretty important to the plans there, right? Here we will go ahead and build that school, though. Why not? You know, Liu Bei is having a party over there. No, we did not execute Xiahou Yun. I thought we did, but it was Xiahou Dun that we did. He didn't lose his eye, but he lost his life. Sima Yi is still there, and we're checking every turn to see if he is mad. Don't really need any of these guys, especially not you. Yeah, I was thinking, I was like, that's the, should we grab him just so we can keep him? Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. It is fitting that we, yeah, like, because the divorcing them when he's not even around, that's not very fitting. Also, it's Liu Yu's son. Ah, yes, that's right. So, you know, it all ties in there. And, of course, it makes sense that he wouldn't want to be vassalized because, well, we can't really protect him, and he knows that. I'm not upset with him for being pragmatic. You know, I'm just saying that if I had this land up here and one gold weapon I could hold for 1,000 years against this scum Yuan Shao. But we'll see how that goes. You know, Korea is having a time. Maybe Chogo will get it. I love what's going on up here because it's like, you know, necessarily kind of apart from all this other stuff. You know, what a good time we're having here, right? Taishi Ci takes the city off of Tongji here, and then receives word that the Emperor has called him back to the capital right away. One guy's like, oh, you're in trouble. But really he's thinking, I hope I'm not in trouble too. But they didn't call along all of Taishi Ci's friends that were here, so that made them feel a little safe. This is Simingju, of course. This is the wife of Zhao Ong, who was, you know, she's not, like, really in the ruling family, although it says she's just a person that's aligned with Lady Hu, who is, you know, in the court broadly. And, you know, the wife of the political hostage from Cao Cao, although he did not understand it that way, that is obviously what it is. Guoxia gets to level 6, Wisdom of the River, my man. Diao Chan gets to level 3, my girl. She's a spy, I'm pretty sure, but we are... You know, we'll see. She's been all around being a deadly beauty. Never having a husband, but, you know, she gets along very well with Lu Bu, nobody knows why. Has a grudge against Yalu. Well, that'll be a fun dynamic. Lu Ji goes north with them, and then Diao Chen and her dad are there too, and then they are like, wait, you know each other? It's like, oh, her? This one? He's just trying to get there so he can help. Oh yeah, we need to get this before, well, you know, when we give it over, we'll get that, but yes. We got a nice refined crossbow for the Lady Hu, you know. And the Emperor has named her the General of Unfailing Aim. Lu Ji says, you can't give her a title, she's a woman. And the Emperor just sort of looked at him and said, I can do whatever I want. So you're a bit curious about a campaign where it takes even longer to siege settlements, like 2 turns to make a battering ram. I love the idea, right? Because it makes military supplies even more important. I would be open to the idea of doing it myself, you know? Every settlement has to be besieged for a turn, and a city has to be done, you know, for 2. I think it would make for very interesting play, depending on, you know, like, depending on who you were. Too, you could make a, you know, a role play of it, you know, like Kong Rong would always give them a chance to surrender, you know, and always give them a chance to think a little more about it. Chicken Wing Guy has now achieved the rank of Multiple Bolt Crossbow Guy. Yuan Shao now has upgraded his army a good bit, you know. He's got some dragons and stuff, and you know, yellow dragons on the charge are scary, but after the charge, they're just guys. For us also, yeah. Yes. Well, you know, it would be interesting to see how they would deal with border wars and such. With that.
保持原样，立马行动。
And he's just going to zoom on up this way to see about supporting them on that side. And Zhu Rong comes back to the capital, but, like, they are not happy to see him there. He did not know he would get such a frosty reception. He doesn't dare to leave.
参见大人。
Some of the game makes the reserves matter more, and years pass more meaningfully, admins matter more. Exactly. You know, and then, you know, technology, like, here, the tech we took for population was going to be so interesting, and then we got the trophy case thing that made it just explode. But I think even without the trophy case, we would have seen meaningful effects from population doing it. But obviously, Liu Chong probably is the single best faction for that. I can't imagine anybody else who can get this amount of population unless somebody has that, you know, because this is gigantic growth. Even in a very small, you know, if you just have 2 settlements with that, or 2 commanderies that have 2 panels, you know, 1 major, 1 minor, that's 40k additional in each of those. That's 80,000 on top of whatever you get. That's, you know, 400k a year in just 2 small commanderies. He has an assignment on everyone for pop growth and culturalism. Oh, okay, nice. But then you would need more land to leverage into it, right? But I guess it just matters on what it is. Because there's an assignment for population growth, but, you know, 20k in each individual province is so huge. But...
廉洁奉公，忍受苦难。
Do we wait for them to try to make an incursion, or do we just move up for the horse pastures right away? Ah, Liu Biao. Some gentleman you turned out to be, sir. Alright, and on this front, the prince... Does the prince go home now? There's a lot of stuff going on. Do we just have him return to the capital as well to weigh in? Or do we have him stay aloof? Do we have him return to Qin and stay aloof? Because this is really... another important question, you know, where is his army going to go now? They dealt with this. I mean, they could go and pop Liu Zhong the rest of the way. And just sort of stay out of the rest of it. And that makes sense, too. He's like, you know, it was never proper for me to engage in politics to the extent that I had to do. And what I'm doing now is dealing with our other relatives, you know. Yeah, don't make it do more respectful than most of us. Yeah. Liu Zhong is an imperial relative in rebellion against the crown. The best thing I can do is continue my mandate from you militarily to strike through the rebellious elements of our own family. You know? There you go. A reason to stay in Shu. And of course, Luo Xun and Zhu Huang want nothing to do with the problems that are going on there. This is way beyond their pay grade, right? Luo Xun was an excellent chancellor of a small princedom, and he found himself rather heavily thrown into matters, again, way beyond his pay grade. None of the guys here, I mean, Zhu Huang is just happy to be alive and having a party, right? But it's also a bit of a problem for him to think about being back there. You know, there's no telling what kind of blame gets assigned. And that's the thing about court intrigue. You don't have to be guilty. And everybody around knows that you don't have to be guilty. All you have to do is be on the wrong side. And of course, he has no idea that his wife is up here being named the General of Unfailing Aim and possibly plotting. And if he did, he'd say, oh, well, what are you going to do? You can't really make her do anything. I mean, what are you going to do? These G militia are pretty funny, but they're not going to cut it anymore. They should at least be archers. No, they could say G militia, whatever, it's fine. Liu Dai and Liu Chong coming in to solve problems. Marching in to solve problems. Well, Liu Chong doesn't know she's planning this theme for his son. Indeed, he does not know that at all. He sure doesn't want to know it either. You know, I was like at work yesterday, Luke, thinking insane thoughts. Like, I wonder if there's a mod to get rid of somebody. You know, just like a little, like here's an event. Like, oh, they got sick. Little court intrigue mod. Is it save game compatible? Is there a mod to like do witchcraft to ensure that a character only has daughters? This is the sort of thing you think about too late. And we've gotten General who pacifies the south, which gives us a ton of military supplies for when we go into the north against Songjian and do that whole campaign. We'll be able to take that, probably put it on Liu Ji, and, you know, then we'll get the plus 20 military supplies, so we'll never have to worry about being up there. Get executed on people out of the Dongzhuo, resist government. Exactly. You know, it's not like, even if they didn't go a little nuts with it, it was absolutely a thing that was done at least sometimes. Certainly, you know, to minor people who failed you, and major people who failed you, and everyone they'd ever met. You know, we can drop this force right now. You know, because I mean, they were there with Zhurong as well, and as far as they know, they're all waiting, wrapped with attention for what they're supposed to do. And honestly, 4 armies is enough to deal with these incursions anyway. You know, 6 was a little overkill, but we were being overkilly. You know, we were doing that on purpose. I was bad on purpose. Joke's on you. Best we just banish, rename, and then banish. Yeah. You know, you're not a part of our family. You're your mother's son. You know, kind of thing. Well, you know, ideally the game will just give us what we want, but I bet it. It always seems that if you have 4 children, you get the proper mix, right? Just like real life. You know, it's like, well, you know, 50-50 enough times, pretty soon you just get the numbers that you're looking for. I'm like, yeah, we'll just walk up there. It's fine. You look, if they sally out, then we'll beat the brakes off of them. And if they don't sally out, then we'll beat them in the thing next time. I mean, what are they going to do against this army? Fight against it? These are heavy G infantry. These aren't your normal infantry. Yeah, we got dragons. We got crossbows. They can't do anything. And we did pick up Chong, which, you know, may he live for 15 more years, because, dude, as soon as we get Swift Fingers with, like, a sweet artillery stack, I have a feeling it's gonna make me cackle. We are seeing the attitude of our vassals, like, dry up towards us, but perhaps in time they'll see things our way. You know, the thing is that all of our lands are happy. Most of the lands in the world are happy, in fact. At least there's that. We're gonna get here, and then we're gonna trade these lands off before too long, but... Is this guy, like, not at war with Saimao? This guy's not at war with Saimao. Okay, that's fun. Oh, because it's not a vassal war thing, and he's been at war with us a long time. Well, in that case, we can just give Hua Xin this stuff and drop our armies? Yeah. Oh, this is like over here across the river. I don't want to give you that. He's like, this is a great idea. Do you have any stuff? He doesn't. Do you have any money? He is totally broke. Well, you know, this'll help. Yeah, he is physically bankrupt right now. Well, you know, we'll give him this and some food, and you know, that'll help him, right? Now he is even more food negative. He can deal with that later, you know. Oh, we're gonna give him this grand rice patties. That'll help. Yeah, and now he can pay us. Now that, you know, hey, you gotta love it, right? And honestly, since we don't get tax revenue, this is just practical. You know, you take land, you give it to them, your tributaries increase. And then we'll just drop these armies now. Yes. Well, obviously, Taishi Ci can't just, like, go back through, possibly, you know, dangerous land alone. So the armies march through without incident back to the capital, which takes, of course, a couple of seasons after pacifying the regions south of the river and handing them off to loyal vassals here, although more work needs to be done. Yeah. You know, every little bit of corruption we get rid of just gets us closer to the really quite large amounts of receipts that we're getting from places. But, of course, we're still 99% if we don't have, like, admin plus assignments, but... We give this over before too long, and that'll help, or we can... probably give some of this land to Saimao. maybe not. Just to get this farmland. How much would you want for it?
到此为止了。
What if we liberated you for it? Now, we could probably just get, like, Shu and give it to him and he'd be fine. But it'd be better to take Xiangyang there, yeah. Anyway, do we want to... But Luoyang is not a spy, which is good. Alright, so... Yes. Wonderful. And in the summer, corruption reduction efforts already started having effect. The Grand Excellency over the masses and the Grand Excellency of Works were called back to the capital, and they were super nervous about it. As well they should be.
讨平乱贼，澄清四海。
The Lady Triu is still fighting for Chupan. We should get a spy in there and see if we can get her. Yeah. We also dropped several armies, but going up to 17k, that's real nice. You know, because we didn't need all those armies. And of course, keeping a standing army you don't need. Now that we have very, very good redeployment costs faction-wide, and of course, there's even buildings and, you know, stuff to make it even better. But now that we've got that working through our various effects and technologies and stuff, because we have such high replenishment and high population, unless you have to have an army somewhere, in 2 turns, our armies will always be full. And it doesn't cost that much to recruit them now. It's like barely more than 1 turn of them being there. So if you keep them, you know, there, and that's the thing too, you know, standing army's bad. But a couple of our war against Yangfeng, I thought that guy liked me. But this is the Nanmen one. The Nanmen rebels spending a long time thinking. There we go. You declared war on Domao. How interesting. A son has been born, and we named him, y'all, Liu Bong. Now, students of history will recognize the name Liu Bong as the founder of the Han Dynasty. And people that don't recognize that name will now be informed that Liu Bong is the name of the founder of the Han Dynasty. Although he would be the Emperor something, starts with a G, that's what they would have called him. You get a single character name after you're dead. Anyway, it's all very complicated. Gaozu, yeah. He was such a guy, and here we go, a son has been born. Well, well, well. A clerk? Selfless, cautious, and committed. Hardly the baby you would want to run an empire. Well, now the plot is thick indeed. Suddenly you want to keep him? Right. After all, a child like that would make a good impression. He's selfless, cautious, committed, a clerk. Of adamant resolve. And a bold name. You know, I should have prepared for this development. Wonder what class the real Liu Bong would have. Ah, that's a good question. Fugitive officer. No, I was just joking because of his whole storyline there for Fugitive Officer. Vanguard would make sense. You know, not really a thinker. More of a doer. That's not fair. He thought sometimes. He's like, is this a bad idea? He's like, well, they're all bad ideas at this point. Might as well have one. Like the Liu Xie. Yeah. I'm gonna die anyway. Indeed, you know, go for it. Look, I think we can confidently say that one of the best things about us is that anytime somebody duels Zhu Huang, we respect it enough to let them live. You know, like, maybe, you know, Yuan Shao or something we wouldn't, but anybody else that dared. And honestly, if Yuan Shao came across the battlefield immediately and challenged me, I'd have a hard time not sparing him after the battle. Because he's a bit of a slippery guy, too, so Sentinel might actually apply to him a good bit. Aha! The Lady Liu is trying to cross the river here? Perfection. Of course, they are about to fall into one of the classic traps, which is they don't know that the army of the 50-foot mustaches here, they get so tied up on the mustache, right, that they can't see the rest of the army there. Champions to reserve people who don't throw their kids out of their carriage. Sometimes trying to say, exactly, you know, like, that's not champion behavior. Liu Bong is a slippery eel of a man. Sorry, a very respectable and important guy. I have to remember that I'm playing one of his descendants. Alright, in here we can afford to improve this army a little bit. I'm not opposed to a couple repeating crossbowmen. I think they add a little bit of flavor, but we obviously don't need a ton of them. Spear guards are fine, militia fine. This army is a spicy meatball. It's okay. Liu Qi's army, that's the one with the raider cav that are crummy. Let's get my man some cataphracts in here. Let's get him some real brawlers. After the performance he's been putting up, G Militia are hardly appropriate for his retinue. How about a bit of Royal Guard in there? Strong you Vanguard. Yeah, in spite of the sword not being equipable by Vanguards, I feel like his performance... Basically anybody that's like, I get on the horses and I lead all the people on the horses. I mean, that's not all he was, but... In general, when I think Cavalry Commander, I'm like, as a Vanguard. And Commanders, I'm like, okay, they're, you know, for the other stuff. Although it doesn't always track that way. But, you know, the sort of fiery, impetuous nature of the Vanguard, which isn't necessary to the Vanguard, but I just, like, sort of associate it with it. Maybe because, like, all the classic Vanguards I think of in the game have that, you know, Zhang Fei, Ma Chao, Sun Tzu, you know, like, you really get that big personality out of all the big Vanguards. Lu Bu, you know. And we're just marching with him. We're not really worried at all about their potential crackback here. Oh, you lose line of sight in March. That makes sense. Hunson's what I have a problem with. Commander, probably. That would fit. Alright, so do we want to, you know... Yeah, because the story is right now that they are traveling around with him constantly. And the Grand Commandant is going to be like, y'all, what? Oh, dude. Oh, come on, Lu Bu. And Lu Bu's like, look, this is just what's going on, man. They're my daughters, and I'm sure you don't think you're going to do anything about it. Don't tell the Emperor, or tell the Emperor. You know, we're going to be here in the north, so, my girls are coming with me. And Jing Daorong is like, oh, I have a headache. And Guo Xie is like, oh, no, I have a headache. We'll get some of these western border guards for her. A little bit of hybrid thing going on, and that'll be her identity there, and one Xiang hunter. If Lu Bu dies before Liu Chong, those two are getting banished for sure.
大人，有什么可以互相用得上的地方吗？
Because, you know, Lu Ji, for all that she knows those two, she doesn't have the whole I was there for the last 10 years adopting them and protecting them thing. She left the north when Chang'an fell. You know, she's been doing her thing, trying to find the seal, trying to set things to rights since then. And in fact, does not know that her father is alive, or that those two are there. They have not seen each other yet. That, you know, Lu Ji's down here. She's incommunicado from the greater realm anyway. Huang Zhong recently showed up and is like, by the way, I have joined the realm. I'm here with 1,000 men. But he's not going to be like, oh, Ma Teng's fallen. He doesn't know all that. Man, rebellion after rebellion here. Admin or food? Those are the only two choices. You know, because once we tamp down on the corruption, then actually, when this kicks over, you know, we're gonna have to see about the faction support too, because the taxes drop that by 20, but we'll have some positive from the Emperor and from the other people, and we might just run some Persuade the Gentry to keep the taxes high.
Oh, 是你这厮.
Yeah, I didn't think he would. He's usually too proud. Ah, Yan Bai Hu, why not trade with you, buddy?
我等同行.
After all, you're a faithful vassal of the Empire at the moment. Hansui... Oh, no, that's not what I meant! Anyway, I guess we've got peace with him now. That'll last, like, no time at all, probably, but... Anyway. That's annoying. We probably could have gotten that. But moreover, you know, we'll put a pin in that, you know. Lu Bu can stay in the north here, and Jing Daorong, now that the problems in the north have been pacified largely, will march down back towards home with the knowledge that he's got too much knowledge now. Guoxia and Hanxian were both here. 3,000 men saw the Dong sisters alive. Songjin's still a problem? Yes. But he's on the other sides of things, and as far as we're concerned, he's sort of out of sight, out of mind, right? This really does represent quite a big region gap, and, you know, the quest for the source of the rivers has not yet been, like, set upon, right? Which Lu Ji probably needs to go on herself, right? Because it'll be the representative of the family, you know, that's there lifting the curse or whatever. Songjian is hiding away. Yeah, you know, he's doing pretty well for himself. Until just a couple of years ago, we had Huang'an and Han Chong as vassals, but he rolled them up, you know. Something about paying us a bunch of their money made them a little less good at making money. I don't know what it is. Corruption problems abound. Sun Tzu is going down here towards Qi, but we will get here to threaten that. They're bankrupt, of course, so I don't think that bankrupt army is doing much here. But we still need to see the big guy. I don't know where he is. It would be more convenient for his last part of land to be up here, so we can just, like, wait for Sun Jian to come out and then hit him. It is outrageous. Outrageous behavior. And we are going to wait a turn, because if they sally out, that would be convenient, and if not, then we'll have a bit of a siege here in a second. Harvest of 211 will fight in the winter. And boy, oh boy, is it gonna be a bloodbath, figuratively, in the excellency positions once this all happens to shake out. Oh, there's gonna be a lot of people talking in the offices there. Autumn first, that's right. Why do I always forget there are 5 seasons, not 4? The 5 Seasons Hotel would be furious at me. Is Yuan Shao gonna try to make landfall again? Ah! Alright, they walk right into the trap. This army is beat up and battered. It will be part of the chronicle that we hit them again, right? But this is the same army that we just beat up, so it can be an extension of that as we pursue them for 30 li. I'm gonna go with 30 li of a pursuit. No, that would be too much of a distance here. 10 li. Not enough to make camp. We'll keep ransoming them because we need money. No, these are people we need to be a little harsh towards our foe here. And our money is fine now. 16k. I mean, it's hardly what we were making as Zhongzheng, but what can ever be? Good morning, Ironic, by the way. Nice to see you here. Looks like Chogo is going up the coast there. Liu Yao is going to help us against the rebellion of the Yellow Turbans. Well, that's good news. Man, they've been going on for a while now. You know, there's something to that Taoism that keeps the people satisfied, or rather unsatisfied. It just depends on who the people are. Can't believe Liu Xie was like, we're gonna call the kid Lu Bong. And of course, all the more interesting for the broader implications, right? That this child was delivered in the south, far from the imperial capital. Oh, and this is the representatives that were, you know, guarding the capital, and they moved out to hit this army as well. How useful. You know, you love to see your allies actually being productive. Because I guess it's a thing that vassals sometimes do if they don't have anything else, that they go and defend the emperor's seat. I love it. I think it's great. How classy, you know? And for this specific story, where we're here at Luoyang and they have the gate pass, it's excellent, right? Because they're moving out. Anybody that comes in has them as it's very cool. Because often in Three Kingdoms at this point I'd be like, I'm just dragging it out. I'm not just dragging it out. Was that Chen Gong fighting for Liu Yu? Ah, I love it, you know. What a good guy. He leaves that coalition. Well, of course you leave that coalition, man. How about you join an empire? No, he doesn't want to. And, you know, Yuan Shao's here. Liu Xie gets to level 4. My man gets his final rush. The man of the magnificent 50-foot mustache. In the Chronicle, we're going to, you know, every time we talk about him, it'll be like, he was called of the 50-foot mustache, but most people agree that it could have been at most only 47 or 48 feet. You know, that kind of thing. And then, like, as he goes in, he charges in, his 38-foot mustache streaming behind him. Just a wild inconsistency with the length of the mustache, but always, always presented as though the length is something tremendous. I feel like that's good value. I do wonder about this guy. I love him so much. What a guy, you know. Obviously, I'm a person who respects the mustache. I didn't always know I would become a guy like this, but now that I am, you know, I'm a mustache man all the way. Mustache, 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 as the Man Man song goes. If y'all don't listen to Man Man, well, you might not like them. They're a super weird band. I love them. It's the word man and then the word man again after a space. Man Man. It's just what it sounds like. I believe that one's called the man with a 10-foot mustache. £10 mustache. It's called £10 mustache. That's right. Such a question. Terrible. I'm going to allow it. By edict of the Emperor, of course, all gate passes are a priority. By other edict of the Emperor, you know, the, obviously, this, having the lower movement for them is ideal. Maybe we can mousetrap Yuan Shao again and get him to come across the river like a dummy. You know, because they don't see our armies waiting in ambush here, you know, they don't know. They don't know what's up, they can't imagine. in the pool. Shisawe here has a tribal no, an imperial bow. Just as good. Better. It's not. It's different. You know, definitely a spy, but hey. Because the Imperial Bow gives you the possibility of Celestial Fury for a 10-range firing rate own army, but you have to have a generic strategist to wear that, and man oh man, are they in short supply in this game, right? I mean, sure, you can find them a dime a dozen, but are you really willing to set aside Chicken Rib Guy or Diao-chan for a generic strategist just for that 10% firing rate? I know I'm not. Speaking of, with Diao-chan, she's like a spy, but we just need her to not be one so we can get her into Lu Bu's army. But she is like a spy, and I know that. You say you love Chicken Rib Guy? You know, I like him too. I was reading his Wikipedia entry before today, because like I saw him and I'm like, what's his deal? I'm like, oh, the password dude. In my head, he's password guy. Because I'm rereading Romance of the Three Kingdoms right now, but I haven't read it for 15 or 20 years, right? I read it whenever I was a boy, and then I read it again as a young man. But now I'm a middle-aged man, although you may not know from my youthful expression and, you know, obsessiveness with video games. But I am indeed entering what we would call the Middle Ages. I'm not 40 yet, but I will be soon. I won't tell you when it happens, because I hate my birthday. But, you know, it will happen. I assume. I'm not gonna, like, say I'm gonna live to be 40, but I assume it's gonna happen. It's not too far away. That got dark. Anyway, what we want to do now is make food production here. Yeah, we don't have food production here. Come on now. Because it was supposed to be the admin buildings, but I think they're all upgrading at the moment. Yeah, just straight food, because then we can upgrade buildings more. And when you upgrade buildings more, then you can upgrade anti-corruption more. And when you do that, then you can finally make money again. Of course, we have absolute... Oh, the granaries give you faction support as well, so that would let you with the increased taxes if you have them everywhere. Improving Chen is, of course, important. We'll do this, yes. Have you been experiencing any lag with recruiting units? No, it's been all fine as far as that goes. Alright, and here, Liu Dai makes contact. We'll be able to support him with Liu Chong, and then move in against Zhongren's army around the way, hopefully, once we get this down. That's the wrong side of the river to make this attack from, buddy. There we go. And now he runs away. Of course he runs away. Bravely ran away. When danger reared its ugly head, Zhongren turned his head and fled. They call him a staunch guardian, but we know what he is. He's a guy who has this unique G of Heavenly Mandate, even though I totally have one too. It's part of the set of the fortress, with which Gilded Turtle, the unique thing, gives you armor for your own army. I think that's very good. However, I honestly think that the wall is the best set in the game, and I'll tell you why. Because it says charge negate own army, and that gives charge negate to your own army. That concludes my explanation of why I think it's the best. For peace, yes, in Diplo, but that's when the lag happens. When we go to peace, that's the only noticeable lag, really. Everything else is fine, but I think it's just because we're at war with 20 people, you know, so it's just like sorting them or whatever. But
那就快点吧。
But I just figured it might have been a consequence of the large amounts of minor factions still alive. Because due to the way that we played it, and the way that, you know, the South is going, we have 30 vassals. There's still like 60 factions alive, and it's 211. Been trying to fix that before you mess with the map anymore. Well, you know, I will say that I don't have any problems with it. You know, it's noticeable, but not in a way that bothers me. Anyway, it's time for the Grand Commandant to march his army back down towards Chong. I mean, no, back down towards
振作起来！
the frontier, and, you know, maybe we'll see somebody trying to make landfall over here. That would be a sight, but, you know, he needs to deal with stuff over there. He's got to return home and tell the Emperor what he saw. He's like, look, Lubu, I absolutely have to tell them what I learned. They're gonna kill me and everybody I know if I don't tell them that the Dong children are alive. And now in the autumn, it is time to attack! But we're going to take a short break before we do that, and then it'll be time for a nice little siege here. And obviously we could take the auto, but we're going to do this, not least because it's been a little while since we had a fight in the video, and the winter will likely pass without one, and then we'll likely be at about the end of it. But, you know, who could tell the future? Not me. If I could, I would lie to you about it anyway. But I will be right back. All right. So they're trying to figure out good locations for them. Well, any place is a good location for the looters if they're not in my land, right? They are wretched, but not without skill. Be cautious. The librarian is wise. Yufulo is here. And Liu Xie, of course, smiles open-mouthed at them. Let the autumn come. We fight beneath the moon's gaze. My girl. My beautiful, perfect girl. Who, you know, suffers political intrigue so that I can find the story more interesting. My beautiful girl. How could I wrong you like this? Alright, tower's already down here. That means this is the way we go in. Bastion on this corner, though. Is there a good place elsewise? You know, this is... Oh, yeah, this is the one that's actually, like, got a little square over to the side. Now, that's not the place to go in. In fact, it'd be a bad idea. Well, we'll just go where... Well, let's, Oh, this tower's already down. Yeah. Well, clearly this will be the side to go on, then. And we will just down the Bastion artillery with overwhelming crossbow fire. Now, their Bastion artillery and my artillery will have the same range. However, we don't have to, like, worry about that, right? We don't. And I will explain why. Because we're just going to put a bunch of crossbows up the gut and shoot their Bastion artillery, and that'll make it fine. These for that one. These for that one. As your dragon's pushing it, don't love that. Spear guards pushing it, much more better. And then they'll have the flaming shot to drop it in on them. This will protect this one a little bit from that one, and then we'll be able to counter fire there as well. And then the Chong hunters to push. Alright. 1, 2, 3... Destruction. Push. Push. Hit that tower first, run up here. There and there. Multi-bolt already is burning that down. We need to go to this one. Oh, we got trebs over on this front, too, once we get there. Alright, first multi-bolt almost going down. Good, good, good. Alright, they are following beneath the fire here. They won't be able to keep up for too much longer. The fire arrows making a nice effect on the morale of this crossbow. This one's doing a little better, but of course the burning of the towers is already commencing. We hit that one up. Now it's just time to get and hit this. No, that treb will be dealt with by these fellows. That tower's out of line here. Beautiful, beautiful. This actually might be the single best time I've ever sieged a place. You know, look at me go. I actually responded properly to how to siege a wall. You can tell I've been daydreaming about this. I'm like, what if I wasn't bad? What would that look like? What would I do? And of course, this trebuchet is trying to be a menace, but we are menacing it right back. And now we are knocking on this door. Boom, 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 boom. You're saying you want to mess around the northern map. Or land up north for the Chong eventually. These are interesting questions. Alright, so we charge in, We actually now are going to go and meet these cavalry immediately and just stream in here, right? Alright, now that we have dealt with the last vestige of this trebuchet, these guys can go in here, and the cavalry should just come in to support. Liu Xie is having a party here. You know, Red Cav versus 4 generals isn't great, but we've got, you know, infantry just right behind them anyway. So it's not like we're unsupported here, and we got the charge anyway, and we've got the beat. Yeah. They are not going to be able to stand up to us at all. Cheng Pu is here. You want to brawl, buddy? Yeah? You think you'll win? He's got 90% evasion. I think he'd win, too. But not happy with that, Liu Xie and Hong Zhong just both get off of their horses and roll bounce in. Yufalo, not to be left out, comes in as well. The 3 heroes surround Cheng Pu. He tries to flee. Underneath their withering onslaught, he can last. Onslaught, assault, both of them. He can barely last. That 90% evasion avails him not, and he flees like a coward into the flames. Alright, we just need to get on this guy. We need to get inside here. We need to get inside here. Archers are just like going nuts there. That's totally fine. Here, we are cracking the towers on the inside. Man, I love a multi-bolt crossbow. I never used to believe in them, and now I've used them like 2 times, and I'm like, I love a multi-bolt crossbow. All my homies are multi-bolt crossbows. And of course, the crew here fighting on foot is going to delete Sun Kuang, some helper you turned out to be. I was looking up what the names meant. I don't know Chinese languages at all, but you know, I was looking up what the names meant. Because these would have been names in like classical Chinese, right? Which is like a whole different thing. Well, not a whole different thing, but a different thing than the Mandarin and Cantonese that we have today, at least in some way. I'm not going to pretend to understand why. I'm just aware the languages don't survive that unchanged for a while, typically. This is like sort of like a Hindi thing, I think, where it's like based on Sanskrit, but like modernized in a lot of ways and stuff. Man, we are losing this brawl. Our heroes unsupported. Cheng Pu gets outside. Our heroes unsupported are going to run in this way and get back out of, you know, that was Tiger Guard and Handmaid Guard and all sorts of quality infantry, you know. Our heroes are going to back out a little bit. That's what's going to happen. We're going to get inside here because we need to get the ranged, you know, inside and productive. We're having a blob fight here. We've left our horses behind, of course, and we can't really go back and get them, which is a shame. It's not perfect. But for fighting spears on foot, it's not terrible either. And makes for a better story, you know. The Rage Liu Xie gets in there. No, that's Martial Prodigy. Rage Liu Xie we don't have yet. We need to support over here and over here. Get the heavy G infantry involved and the Marines.
敌军四散而逃，到底是无胆鼠辈。
Like, we need something on Chenpu, because he's just gonna beat up Tiger Guard, even though, you know, abstractly they're good against things on horses. He has 95% evasion now. So, you know, if we don't kill him soon, we'll actually never kill him, so that would be bad. The old exemplar, right? But here, the Xiongnu cavalry coming in clutch, and we're going to be able to break this front anyway. Wide open with us finally engaging there. And then these Azure Dragons, I mean, Chengpu won't stand up to it. We will kill him. Multiple bolt crossbow continues to be quite good at burning the place down. You might think, is that what you want? I mean, not opposed to it. They know what they did. Let's not pretend that the Sun family doesn't know exactly what's going on here. Give me back my seal. Give me back my seal. And now we've got a Sentinel and Liu Xie doing the bump and grind here amongst a bunch of crummy little infantry. Just what you want to see. Not least because when they're not on horseback, you're not as worried about them getting tuned up, right? And they just like, you gotta have your party. On this front, of course, the crossbows are trying to run. Oh, these heavy crossbows are just melting, yeah. Pull these guys back a bit. Just need these guys to shoot in here. Do we even have axes on these guys? I don't think so. Do we have an axe band at all? Yes, they need to be over here. Well, you know, they're probably all about to crumble, right? That's how the blob fights generally go. Chengpu finally got tuned up. He fought bravely. And the multiple crossbow keeps on burning down towers. This is unlikely to matter, but it's nice to know they're not there. Oh, Chengpu was not dead. He came back in. Huang Zhong was able to strike him down as he tried to flee. I lied. Look how quick he is! You rogue and traitor, Huang Zhong hollers as he makes his way over the barricade. No! As we make our way, run him down! Though trying to hide himself in the other troops, he was unable to flee. We fired a warning shot at him. And pulled out our trusty bow. The heirloom bow of Hong. Shooting him down in the back as he fled like a coward. Sun Quan, the lone general on the battlefield, bravely charged in, but was met with the halberd of Liu Xie. It goes without saying that he fell that day. Huang Zhong got sort of beset by people as that happened, but our reinforcements were there right in time. Sun Kuang tries to escape, but then the twin bows of Liu Xie and Yufalo tried to find him as he fled. Would the arrows strike true? Looks like they missed him. That was quite an arc. He fled from the city. It had been lost. What can you do? Right? What can you do? I love this multiple bow crossbow. I will say that having double ammo makes me love it more than I probably otherwise would, but I love it. A decent little battle where Liu Xie only gets 100 kills, but they were value kills. Look, Chen Pu is like a total menace. Any Sentinel at high level is crazy. He specifically is even crazier, right? Because he has very decent armor and, you know, 80 melee evasion. Fortunately, he just had the sword and shield, but this is like the good one too, so it gave him even more shield evasion. And more ranged block chance. Great. Are Liu Su and Liu Xie related? No. Wikipedia says no. Alright. So it wouldn't make him mad if we got rid of him. But I'm thinking, so generally we spare people, but Liu Xie is like, yeah, the wrong one. Liu Xie is very focused on this whole seal thing. Do we think she has a bitterness enough to just be popping people because they're in the family, though? If we go with no, that aligns her with her father. So we can imagine her here, right, on the axis of not blaming the children for the faults of the father because of Dong Zhuo, or we can have her on the axis of doing that, and then Lu Bu will be scandalized at how his daughter came up to be so different and so much harsher than his own priorities, and, you know, not blaming people for that kind of thing, you know. Would Liu Xie be happy to know that her father had taken the Dong girls in? I mean, I think so. Would Liu Xie spare Sun Kuang? They don't know anybody that we like. One release is traditional. Sun Kuang doesn't have the seal after all.
都是为各自信念而战罢了。我虽有所晋升，但仍心系苍生。
A chance to make things right should be offered before the hammer of justice comes down. Right? Maybe. Yufalo gets to Mark of Scorn, which costs him health, but, you know, does potentially solve a big problem with the old Crippling Gaze. The ability's called Crippling Gaze, and it gives them the Mark of Scorn. Got it. Hong Zheng gets to level 6 and becomes Swift-Fingered, which is going to match up just so well with what we've got here. Do we send him to hang out with the Empress after the folk there go. Now here, these dudes have nowhere to hang their hat in this direction. You know, I think they're gonna get away. Which is, of course, another... It's an interesting, if anticlimactic, end to this quest. We weren't able to run down Sun Jian, and then wherever he ends up, we are going to attack them, no matter who it is. Because now that Huangzu has taken this land here, there's not so much that can be done there. We'll fix the place up real quick before we get rid of it. Now, do we have any more buildings to do? I think we basically did the ones, right? Yes. Alright, time to go to winter. Liu Xie gets his thing. He's a trusting warlord. Good for him. Oh, he's got a thing to give Replen faction-wide that's different than his trait there. So it's like in addition to it. Love that. Good for him. Yeah, it's like a campaign effect that got attached to him or something at some point. I don't know, but it's good to see. Filion corrupt out of Chong now. Liu Xie and stuff, he doesn't need to go on assignment because they're all about to have a talking to over this winter. And now that this army's here, we will symbolically disband it. Really, they're marching down the road. Life bonus when we fill that outdoor scene. That's right. Oh, that's where they show up on the card. Yeah, for the next one, we'll probably marry to the woman who gives the -2 to construction time, because that is going to be bonkers. But that'll be whoever replaces Liu Xie, who, you know, it's going to be a bloodbath up here, and the Chancellery, figuratively, of course, they're going to survive. But... like, is Karen's husband going to lose his job? I don't think so. I mean, do we dare her wrath? Sorry, Kuron. More food, and that takes us down. Making 20k a turn is good money. Of course, we're still barely making any there. It's just that our Diplo has jumped up a good bit. Oh yeah, the other thing is that with the addition of Dongbai, you get successful growth, which gives you 50% to family estates. So as this army's coming here and going to the capital, Jing Darong is going to be bearing with him a chest overflowing with treasure, and he's going to put it at the feet of the Emperor and be like, oh yeah, the Dong girls are alive. Lu Bu's their adopted stepfather, kind of a little bit. He sort of sees himself that way. It's not a formal thing. And they've sent you all this money. I'm sorry. But he won't get there yet. That'll, you know, the winter of 211, which will be, you know, the very end of the Han Dynasty restored, corruption problems and all of that, is going to be a doozy of a time. And we're going to resolve all of it on the next episode of Dragon Ball Z. Because really it'll be in the spring, right, where the new crop of advisors come in. Where, because Liu Xie has been offering his resignation every year since he turned 65, which is the age of mandatory retirement, and the Emperor has been turning him down, but this year, you know, he'll accept it. In the Emperor's view, the only people in this whole realm who are doing their job right is Lady Hu, his wife, Liu Chong, Xing Daorong, and everybody in the army. But all of the people that are running stuff, he is not well pleased with them, right? I mean, he's pleased with security and such, but he's not pleased with the runnings of the empire. The people are happy enough, but corruption is rampant. And if you can't collect your taxes, what kind of government are you at all? Because that's the thing that sometimes people don't appreciate about the system of taxation, tribute, what have you. It is not about the money until it is. But you don't collect taxes because you need the money. You collect taxes because if you don't collect taxes, you're representing to people that you're not going to. And that they don't have to listen to you. Because if you're not going to even take some of their money, then you're not really in charge. Everybody in charge takes people's money. You've got to shake them down too. Sorry, tax them. And Liu Yu gets vassalized by the Kingdom of Song. Shameful behavior. But you know, he had nowhere to go. He must have felt that way. The Lady Hu receives the trait trustworthy. The Lady of the Elephants becomes tolerant. The looters are consigned to oblivion. Trustworthy, yeah, you know. Or so it seemed. So in the winter of 211, Cao Cao's forces, you know, the vanguard led by Cao Zhen and the Zhanbei fellows, and Jian Yong, who is fighting with Cao Cao. I mean, makes sense enough, I guess, in this timeline. We're all a big set of friends here. Chogo, they're just having, you know, naval battles over there, and looks like our network in Korea is failing a little bit, but hey, what are you gonna do, right?
我已准备好作战了。
Pretty sure the Sun family is landless.
就到此为止吧。
Yep, let's get this over with. Yeah, you think so, buddy? Tell you what, Sun Jian, if you return this seal to me, we'll let you go live at the temple of your ancestors for the rest of your life. You can live there and never leave. Final offer. Bring me the seal. Luoyang levels up. His counter. Oh, right. Yeah, he wouldn't have one. Well. That's right, because there's the there's the time when, is it Senso, he's like picking out like a good funeral spot or whatever. Is it him? Anyway, I'm remembering it now. He wouldn't have had to pick one out if his family already had one. Sort of like an underhanded way to make that point in the story that I didn't pick up on until I said it right there. And here we get faction-wide ranged decrease. So that's the madman there, right? We want to see these lumber yards. Anything that reduces our upkeep is worth its weight in the gold, right? This one's already there. And these two, you know, they're just sitting here plotting in the lumberyard. Who knows about what? Not me. I don't know what they're doing. This is a guy called Liu Xie, but he's a whole different guy than Liu Xie, who's married here. And speaking of, well, that'll be done in the spring too. You know, all these shakeups will be done there. There will be the grantings of titles. It'll be a whole thing. And what do we take in the view of that? Flexibility? Discretion calm? Discretion gets us to modesty, which is abstractly very good. This is good too. Rank to faction-wide stuff is fine, you know, all these are okay. Really, we'll go to discretion because he's about to be pretty discreet all over you fools. Gunning's faction. Ah, there you go. I'm like, he looks bandity. He's got a little, you know, I like his hat. It doesn't look like the hat of a nobleman, of course. Hand it over to him, of course. We know that it'll make things easier for him anyway. And, you know, why not get rid of some of our corruption, increase our income in the same jump. And then here, we just want to be able to roll this up before he gets here, and then Lufan will be able to support here. And I think Yongfeng is in this army. Yeah. So this is a nice little army to get along with. We don't need them to have any of those super special weapons. And he's just going to be wandering on the road here. We might have to... might have to get an army over there for it. Looks like Cai Mao and Huangzu are going to start making some short work of Hu Mao here. So, you know, good for them. They're doing their thing. They're still bankrupt, which is going to make them have a real bad time whenever we show up here next turn. We should go to March here. Because this army moves like 30% less than this one, because Shu Hong gives you 30% campaign movement range. He's just the best pickup. I like his little mustache. He's a good guardian. He's got a great thing. Gives terror. That's nice. Retinue upkeep, you know? Like, what's not to like?
实在令人心寒。
And own army, melee evasion, 15, and 30 movement range. What a champ. Of course, he's super hard to capture. We got very lucky getting him. I didn't think it was going to happen at all. I did the little dance. I was like, ah! My Jonah Hill.
正气如火。
Alright, well, on this front, all is fine, and it is a short winter, just as planned. And next turn, the Han Dynasty Restoration will be over, and we'll see what kicks from there. You know, we lose the Public Order, which doesn't matter, and the Faction Support, which probably doesn't matter. The Public Order is quite fine. We can weather that, you know. We have big population, but we also have all the buildings and a lot of technology managing it, so... Guogong, this guy is, you know, the faithful administrator of Luoyang. He's getting old. We'll see what happens with him. And now we can get a trade agreement here. And offer him some food. This guy's gonna like us plenty. Like, did it make it go down? No.
我方接受你的提议。
And then here's the Han Empire holdings, right? We lose out on some of the replan bonuses, but with Liu Xie here, of course, you don't really have to worry about it. I mean, 35 is not as good as it would have been, but still fine.
剑锋出鞘，攻其不备。
So Hong is marching across our lands to deal with problems, no doubt. And with that, another year passes. And all's well. Zhongyong is still alive up there? Like, what a guy, right? What a guy, what a champ. He should be the prime minister, right? No, that was how things were. Until Yuan Shao had to go and make it creative, you know. So many things aligned to make this amazing campaign have this great story. Because what if the Emperor didn't show up? Well, then we would have had a whole thing where we tried to get him. Yuan Shao declared, like, pretty soon after that all happened. If we hadn't moved on him, you know... You got revassalized, yep. And it looks like an army of Song Jian's is coming down and wants to face off against Lu Bu's forces. Isn't that interesting? Han Sui's faction has been succeeded by his son. This guy. Can you imagine bringing this stack against Lu Bu? What kind of... Are you sure your sovereign doesn't hate you? Do you know what's up here? Do you know what's about to happen to you? And they are so far from home. Marching all through the winter, probably low on supplies. Anyway. We get a horse. And it looks like these fools will be thinking about crossing the river once more. Choco?
说话
What?
小心点。
This dude... I thought that was Liu Bei's flag. This dude has come quite a distance to fight me. And he's not even somebody... He's not even, like... He's not even affiliated. He's just mad at me for my incursions in Korea. Did he, like, go up here and then just, like, say, I'm gonna go up the whole river at you? I love that. Look, Shijin, Ji, Jiyun, and Gangjam, you guys... You can have a job if you want a job. Y'all are... You can have a job if you want a job. Alright, well. This... There is so much to do, right? But... Bit of an anticlimax. We are gonna end the video now, because I want to hang out with the dog, and because, well... Frankly, I think a whole lot of brainstorming today at work will suit us for where we're going in the future here. Now, broadly, what are we doing? Taishi Ci is losing his job. He's going to be made the administrator of Chong, and then probably shortly after that, given independence. Maybe like immediately, right? Taishi Ci has served us very well, but he is not good at this job, and he doesn't need to have it anymore, right? Right. Zhu Rong lost a duel to Lady Liu, which embarrassed him. The Emperor doesn't personally like him. He's getting old. And he has a checkered personal history. Having, you know, been in the faction of the tyrant, although, you know, we're not blaming him for it. Luo Xun hits level 9. My boy. Anyway. We'll need to give him an Imperial army pretty soon, huh? Now that we can afford one. Upon taking Shu, they'll get more supplies. And, you know, because it's not that Danyang Elite Spears and Azure Dragons aren't amazing. They are. But when we push them up into being the Imperial troops, well, you're going to see the foes melt. It's going to be good stuff. But anyway, so they'll have to go. Lu Ji's resignation is going to be accepted. Actually, what we'll do right now is, you know, remove everybody from office before we end the video. Well, not everybody, but Liu Xie, you're excused. Taishi Ci, you're excused. Zhu Rong, you're removed from your post. Xing Daorong, Liu Xie is going to think about what you've told him with the Dong children. However, right now, you can hardly be said to not be the best general we could ask for, and you can stay. We sent you to the north to worry about Zhonglu, and then the threat of the Luoyang kingdom established itself. You were able to subjugate them, return the imperial father-in-law to the fold, and take their emperor's seat, as well as pacifying the greater north on our borders. This is all to the good. Speaking of the greater north on our borders, look at these guys. That'll be a brawl when they ever show up. But of course, it's a long walk over to where we are. And Lu Bu, you know, he'll be able to do some work there, right? He certainly will. Do we give Dongbai the amazing sword and wood? No, we don't need that good of a weapon for her. We will take the celestial sword away from Taishi Ci before we send him out, though. Oh, Liu He had this this weapon. We're gonna take that away. You know, because he's gonna get divorced. You know, he's oh, and now he's using this one. You know, you should never do what I do there. You don't unequip people through the menu because they'll just get a different awesome weapon. I don't even know what kind of guy he is. It's fine. We'll deal with it later. the Grand Tutor, Grand Excellency over the Masses, and the Grand Excellency of Works have all been dropped to Strategist. Ah, there you go. He is the hapless heir. Well, you know, why don't you haplessly get yourself a regular Xian? Well, we can do the divorce right now so I don't forget, because we're going to get caught up in a lot of other stuff. And the last act of the video will be to give Liu Xie a divorce so that Yalu and the faithful vertiginous Quake can become married. They're the happiest people, and, you know, they don't really want to be... They don't want to be apart anymore. They even like each other! Wow! You know, for the story, they were going to do it anyway. But it's always nice when the game agrees that they get along. They're probably oath-sworn. I guess now that they're married, she doesn't like him. The lady who doesn't. But... yeah, no. They're oath-sworn to each other, but not to her. She's not oath-sworn to anybody. She's just got, you know, even though she's been in all these battles, she just has, you know, these surface level friendships and acquaintances. But, you know, she's trustworthy, dutiful, modest, healthy, and solitary, but is she? How trustworthy is she? But with that, you know, we're able to move in. Oh, yeah, 24K. There you go. We're finally getting a little bit money back from taxes. You know, still not all that we would have done, but hey. Corruption at 85% in places without reduction. And, well, I guess maybe that place had some reduction. Maybe the Emperor's assignment was over. Yes. The counteract corruption thing. Well, we'll do it right now because that is the assignment that he is doing. He is counteracting the corruption. You know, we'll make more money. We'll build our buildings up, and we'll do everything. But anyway, so when we return, we will be reorganizing the faction council. You know, the Grand Tutor will need to be probably Liu Xie, because he's suitable. He should be a little bit older, you know, broadly speaking. He hasn't been the steward for that long, but suitable enough. Military victories on top of being respectable, gets along with the Emperor and everybody else that's there, right? That's important. 40s is enough? Okay, yeah. Well, you know, we'll go ahead and appoint him now. Like, it would be better if we get this done right now, and then we can do all of the other stuff afterward. Grand Excellency over the Masses. Do we move Chindung up? I mean, he was Minister of Finance, though, under these conditions where the finance was a flaw. Perhaps he'll need to be removed from his position, actually. You like him? I like him too, but does he deserve a promotion right now after what he did with the Treasury? But the Emperor likes him, right? And he can blame the people upstream from him. He... Overseeing state expenses. Okay, so I guess, yeah, it wouldn't be his fault, right? Because he dealt with the Treasury. His management of the Treasury was faultless. You know, they looked into it. He didn't do anything wrong. It was the provinces and the administrators, the overarching leadership that was wrong, he isn't in charge of anything except making sure the treasury operates with what it has. There you go. And that would make him the Grand Excellency of Works. Yeah, he managed all the no money he was getting. The Grand Excellency of Works manages the treasury and the other stuff, and so that would be entirely appropriate for him to gain a promotion there. Grand Excellency of the Masses is for law and political affairs. Yes. Luoyang? But he already feels out of his depth doing everything that he's doing, right? And Liu Xie is not well pleased with him. But who here has managed politics well? Who has the know-how and the elbow grease to lead us to a new land? Liu Dai is 65 as well, though he's old for all that he has done well. You know, it's a bit old if we're replacing the old guys. We could put him in there for a year or two while we're looking for other people, but, you know, this represents a huge reduction in it. I'm like, do we bring in Sheng Xian with a eunuch advisor? Is that what we do? Are we bringing the eunuchs back? It would reduce corruption. But is Liu Xie going to have a say in this, you know? Only those get the faction bonus. That's right, yeah, because these lower ones don't. Who shall we send? Dao Ying actually could be a great choice here, right? Dao Ying was the person under whose banner... Yeah, Dao Ying. I think Dao Ying makes the most sense here. Because Liu Xie was working for him that whole time. The Emperor doesn't like him, though. Let's try Mi Heng and see. He likes him. The Emperor doesn't like him, though. Because this, I feel like, makes a ton of sense, given that he was the faction that Liu Xie was under. So, you know, he would have a high opinion of him for those reasons. You know, his family, you know, is respectable and that kind of thing. You know, we can put him in there, and then if he doesn't do a good job, we could always take it away from him, right? He doesn't have to like him personally in order to accept the recommendation of his beloved wife, after all. The Herald, yes. And that's funnier anyway, right? It is funnier, and that makes it good. Looking for a new Minister of Finance, and everybody but the Emperor likes him. You know, I like Chicken Rib Guy, though. You know, we're gonna give him a job, you know. Plus, like, we're getting a lot of people that used to be, like, sort of way associated, you know, and Guo Xie would like him. But really, it would be better to keep it harmonious. Yangfeng. No, we'll make him the head of security? No. Chensu, yeah, that seems good. You know, young, but suitable, and associated with Chendong, which, you know, the nepotism is perfect, right? And he gets along with absolutely everybody. A fine young man. Steward has to get along with the Emperor quite well. Someone who's been around, you know, yep. Liu Xie is a good choice there. You know, they are related. But, no, he would be too closely associated with the rebellious faction, right? His father is still alive, after all. Well, Liu Jin is called the discreet steward. He doesn't get along with anybody except the Emperor. The librarian gets nominated for the minister steward by Liu Ji because, of course, they've been traveling together and they like them. The minister of the household. Liu Ji's in charge of security. But I mean, unironically, right? Well, I mean, although that's funny, it wouldn't be, like, done. It obviously wouldn't be done. She's his wife, you know. She wouldn't get a ministerial position. That would be very strange. But Luo Jun asks for a swap to the Minister of the Imperial Household in the event that his, you know, because he has to resign as well, knowing the Emperor is not, like, doesn't like him. And the Emperor says, no, you're doing great, you know, I don't want you out of here, but you are right, you know, as a Minister of Justice, it's not really your thing. Moves him over there to the Minister of the Imperial Household, where he could be, you know, in charge of security and stuff, which is very important. And nominates Chicken Rib Guy to be Minister of Justice, which is much better suited for him. Ceremonies needs to be held open for Hanshan upon the quest for their nepotism. Exactly. You can have a little nepotism as a treat. And Taishi Ci, thinking that he is, like, all the way on the way out, is just, you know, sort of beside himself here. But can we... Is he on cooldown? Here we go. He is, of course, an excellent administrator. But we are taking your good horses away. You can keep the builder. You can obviously keep the bow. Taishi Ci, we're not setting you free because we don't like you. We're setting you free because we do like you.
恢复原样，开战！
I said we were stopping. I'm like, I guess we'll continue on.
上！
Maybe forever.
力求上进，功名震天，追寻荣耀。
We roll up here, complete the tea house.
憧憬胜利，尔等必将无往不利。 现在这里归我军所有了。
From these stories. Yeah, cause that's where. Cause they were from around there, and then they had to move away to live in Kongrong's lands, where Kongrong took care of his mom and stuff, and that's why he showed up and all, right? And then he just sort of ended up in the south due to a series of events. And now we will grant independence to Taishi Ci immediately, you know. Vassalize them. Does he like us? He has a neutral attitude towards it. We will offer him a guarantee of autonomy immediately, which will upset a lot of our other guys, but that is okay.
我方接受了。
He is an accommodating diplomat, which is an excellent personality to see,
我也
right?
迫不及待聆听足下家言。
Honorable, friendly, you know, and yeah, so a perfect personality for a guy, and we will send him,
很高兴与你见面。
you know, all the food he needs to get started.
此君子之义也。
Yes, an excellent vassal in an important strategic location. You know, we can count on him
准备行动
to。hold the river, and then we'll
快
just
去！
continue trying to clean stuff up here. And then I guess we're gonna get a little hands off with the south for a bit. Makes the most sense. Because we, you know, will have failed to find the seal as far as we know. But there's still some armies over here, so we're not going to disband these stacks yet, I guess. But yeah, Euphalo has to go back north, like, really soon. It would be better if the Euphalo thing worked in conjunction with the tribesmen of Yalu and the Vertiginous Quake and the Hanjian quest to cleanse the sources. It would be most excellent if we could do all those stories at the same time, right? And this end of the seal quest, although we didn't get it, will be the perfect moment to do all of that. And then maybe we'll, because Lu Bu's army's already up there. He's ready to go on the adventure with us. But anyway. Not sure what to do with her from here. Exactly. Like, does she go on the quest to the north as well? Because that doesn't make us... It's fine, but like... Well, she has to obsessively seek the seal, right? So if the Sun family fragments and goes wherever, we just need to figure out where it is. And the only way that she would go to the north that would make sense is if she was trying to get the curse broken so the Emperor would let her go across the river because Sun Jian was there. But I think, in the event that we see that he's got the seal up here, Liu Xie just makes for the water here. We go around the river on the ocean, which doesn't count as crossing the river, right? Right. because that's the way that loopholes to curses work. And we'll be able to do that if and only if Sun Xian ends up having the seal up there. But otherwise, yeah, her staying in the south until we find where it is. And then I think she should play Whack-a-Seal, because we don't know where Sun Xian is going to run off to whenever he comes back. It could be like with Cao Cao, in which case we have to declare war on him to get the seal back. Han Zhen may well have a different personality. He has a very different personality. We could get him into the Empire, but that's not really desirable. For Song Xian with everybody? Yeah. You know, we'll be able to declare war on him and get there soon enough. Because, you know, I mean, it'll take a year to get ready. And then, you know, by then it's time to declare war again. You can also just go in bright. Or, you know, replace him up there with somebody who, you know, with an appropriate vassal for the north. But anyway, the counteraction of corruption has gone wonderfully. We will focus on the agricultural economy. Sign a trade agreement with our vassal there. Excellent. And, you know, these are pretty underwhelming ones. I'm like, is it always going to be the same ones? I'm like, yeah, I guess. I mean, you know, the contract engineers and all that. Anyway. Oh, a trade deal with Taishi Ci. I bet we can get that one regularly. Anyway, the Agri focus is the only one we really care about here. We're a highly respected guy, no wonder. I'm like, there's no way he won't just accept this. And this is excellent, too, because he'll make a lot of money. And we will find him a wife. Well, you know, marrying him into the family is a bit much. We can always find him a wife later if he doesn't find one. All right. Wonderful stuff. We are counteracting corruption. We are trying to counteract it. Hey, look at that. Well, it only netted 69% corruption. We're already making money again, because this place would be making cash if we weren't in such straits. But hey, you know, we'll be able to build the Imperial Palace here in a few turns. You know, it takes just a handful of turns to upgrade the main building, but it'll be nice to get the real palace. And I said I was going to stop. All right, anyway, we have to stop now. Anyway, I'm trying to get to work on time today. I don't want to explain why. But anyway, 57 million people live in the realm. The trophy cabinet is improving the archers and the air ammunition and the siege weapons. Liu Chong, still alive, 70 years old now. I hope he lives forever. Oh, I just hate to think about how we'll feel when he's gone. We'll probably give his horse to Zhu Huang, but no, he'll have a son of an appropriate age. His crossbow, of course, has to go to his son, and the blade, I don't know about the blade of Shang Yu. Give it to the boy who has not been removed as heir yet. Bum, bum, bum. But we'll have to think about all of that plot and such. Can you banish a baby? Mod, banish a baby. Anyway, that's all I've got for you right now. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hope you've enjoyed. You know, we had some fun battles this time. Some great battles, if you will. You know, that one in the riverbed where we engaged, that was some fun stuff. You know, you really see how totally... how totally solid Yuan Shao's, you know, defenders of Hebei are. Like, these guys brawl. They've got really high morale. They like to fight. They'll fight for a while. And, you know, don't lose a duel or you get negative 15 on your spear guard, infantry of Jing. And then they run away. They want to run away. It's very sad. Anyway. These fools are gonna be in for a rude awakening. They're finally leveling up their guys more. You know, they were struggling with experience for a bit, but I guess they're winning a little bit. Gongsun Zan is going to get popped before too long. You know, our efforts against corruption were successful. Somewhat successful. I'm like, does this administrator have an anti-corruption thing on? Not you, you. Yes, we got that one. Yeah, and that's the faction-wide one. Oh yeah, speaking of the faction-wide one. It is time to... No, we'll do this next time. We will rearrange the items next time. I already said I was stopping. I've been turning off this video for 30 minutes. Anyway. The reorganized court. Young men in the place of the old. People who have not disappointed the Emperor in the place of people who have. And although Dao Ying doesn't get along with the Emperor, perhaps in time he will. And most people in the court get along with most people in the court, except some people don't get along with the Emperor at all. But those are all people that come on, like, the recommendation of others, right? Is the thing. Is everybody that the Emperor doesn't like is someone who is very important or besties with either the Lady Hu or Liu Chong. So, there we go. Wonderful stuff. We're finally making a whole lot of money, just what we want to see. You know, the trade's rolling in, the tributaries rolling in, and once we get more anti-corruption measures in place, we'll see even more of that as we continue on with this playthrough. I love how it's working out. The artificial restrictions we place on ourselves are not really restrictions at all. They just make it more fun. Look at that. That's nice. Yeah, you know, because we came in and Vini Vici'd a little bit, but... we'll see where the seal pops up, and that'll determine Liu Ji's story, because as much as I absolutely adore Liu Ji, I don't want the Lu Bu and Liu Ji story to overshadow the rest of what's going on this whole time, for all that it will be an important little sub thing, you know, because I'm very vulnerable to making my favorite people the only ones that matter. But I think we've done a good job with this, with, you know, getting away from that a little bit and sending her off from the action. And the search for the seal will be an excellent thing because she's obsessive. So, you know, that'll be good. But anyway, that's all I've got for you right now. I swear it's over now. Later, Luke. So good hanging out today. Later, Ironic. It was wonderful to see you. And I hope you guys enjoyed. Maybe I'll see you in a later stream or video. We might play this tonight, but I think I'm probably going to try out Pal World. You know, I'll download it, and this is like 40 gigs, and I have good internet, but I was trying to play when I wanted to play. But anyway, and maybe I'll see you guys there, or, you know, maybe we'll play this, or, you know, blah, 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 perfectly explaining that thing I needed to explain. Anyway, I'll see you guys later. It's off to work for me.